If you're looking for a slightly more luxurious General Motors SUV to ferry you and your kids around in, but you're not quite ready to step up to something like an Escalade or a Yukon Denali, you'll probably find yourself in the showroom looking at one of these, the GMC Acadia Denali. This 2024 model is of the latest iteration that was recently redesigned. The GMC Acadia and the Chevrolet Traverse started off their production in the late 2000s, right around the time when the housing crisis and recession was setting in. The GMC Acadia and Chevrolet Traverse started off as a front-wheel drive based V6 SUV with seating for up to 8 for American families to use every day when they didn't want to have something truck-based like a Yukon. They wanted something a little bit more easy to use every day, something like a Ford Explorer. And that's what the primary target of the Chevrolet Traverse and the GMC Acadia was, the Ford Explorer. And the GMC Acadia Denali was always the more luxurious version. But I say luxurious in quotations because GMC's Denali cars have never really delivered, in my opinion, on actually being nice to drive, proper luxury SUVs. I know they're not exactly Mercedes Maybachs or anything, but you get inside a Denali and I would expect it to have a little bit less awful, disgusting plastic everywhere you touch than the Chevrolet Traverse. I would expect it to feel a little bit nicer and more upmarket than the Chevrolet Traverse, but in my opinion, the Denalis always were just wasting your money on an appearance package that you could say was luxurious, but it wasn't really. This 2024 Acadia Denali completely changes that. I got the opportunity to drive this car recently, and I am absolutely blown away by how good this Acadia Denali is. Again, I had low expectations going in, but as soon as I got behind the wheel, it just felt amazing. Inside and out, it is absolutely fantastic and does the luxury SUV thing properly for the first time since the Acadia came out. And I'll tell you what I mean in a minute, but first I want to talk about trim levels and then we'll go into exterior styling while we're out here. The Acadia is offered in 3 trim levels at the moment. There's the base level elevation, which you can have if you're a loser, or if you want a more off-road focused one that's all-wheel drive only, you can step up to the AT4, which is the off-road package. But if you want to be the king, the elite, the richest, proudest mom at the HOA gathering, you can have the top level Acadia Denali, which is what we have here. Again, it's the luxury model, and I can say luxury and not laugh afterwards for once because they did a good job. Now let's talk about styling. First time I saw one of these new generation Acadias, I honestly thought it was a Yukon. They boxified the styling of this car, if boxified is even a word. I just invented it, so now it is. They boxified it and they made it look a lot more blocky and rugged to sort of match the ethos of an off-road SUV, which is all the rage these days. People want Jeep Wranglers, Ford Broncos, Mercedes G-Wagons. People want cars that are off-road boxy SUVs that look like they can handle the trail. So to follow this trend of off-road SUVs, General Motors made the Acadia and Chevrolet Traverse more boxy to make them look a little bit like their upper level truck-based SUV counterparts, the Tahoe, Suburban, and the Yukon. They did such a good job that sometimes I can't tell the difference. This car just looks like a slightly shrunken down Yukon, which depending on your preference for styling can be a good thing or a bad thing. Judging based off of previous generation Acadias and Traverses, yeah, I think they did a better job with this one. So with that being said, let's take a review type tour of the 2024 Acadia Denali. Here we are at the back of the 2024 Acadia Denali. I also forgot to mention that the GMC Acadia starts at around $45,000, but if you want the top level Denali, and I suggest you do, it's an extra 10 grand, starts around $55,000, which I think, given the quality and execution of this car, is a really, really, really good deal. $55,000 buys you a BMW X3 30 xDrive, which I've reviewed, link is somewhere. And I'm definitely more of a BMW guy, you can tell by the BMW sweater. But if it were between this and the X3, I would definitely take the Denali, which should be pretty high praise. Let's check out interior practicality. Press this button and we have a power lift gate. As you would expect from the top level luxurious Denali model. You look inside and everything is white. You don't see any grays or blacks like what you're used to in pretty much every car. Inside of the trunk, even this scuff plate for luggage, it's all white, which is interesting, I suppose. Also, the back of the second and third row seats are just kind of cheap feeling carpet, which is a bit of a General Motors cost-cutting measure, but not a big deal. At least it feels nice to touch with your hands. At the bottom, you have a carpeted floor for this trunk, and you lift it up to find a massive, absolutely gargantuan underfloor storage area. This is the biggest one I've ever seen. It's really impressive. I honestly wasn't expecting that much back here, but it adds to the practicality. Another thing that adds to the practicality is if there's not enough room back here with the third row seat in place, you can, with the touch of these switches right here, lower and put back the third row of seats with just the touch of a button. Again, you don't have to pull on a lever and push the seats forward, and then you don't have to go around to each side and negotiate with annoying straps or levers or anything like that and then throw the seat back into place. If you folded down the third row seats and then you just so happen to need to carry 7 people in this car, all you have to do is just press that little switch. All you need is one finger and it's all done for you. The only thing you really have to do is put the headrest back into place. Definitely top marks for practicality for the cargo area of the Acadia Denali. With that being said, let's move into the cabin. Okay, as we've discussed, this is a 3-row vehicle. It has 7 seats. It's available with a full bench seat for the second row. This one has the captain's chairs, as you can tell. And what are you gonna want from a 3-row SUV when it comes to getting into the third row seat? What you want is this second row seat to move forward with as little inconvenience as possible, which means also not folding up in case you have a child seat back here. If it folds up and goes up against the front seat, then yeah, that makes it easier to get in the back, but you have to get the baby out before you're able to do that. So how does the Acadia perform? Well, I find a button on the back of the second row captain's chair here. Press it. That is how you do a second row seat, people. I mean, you press the button, it pivots forward electrically, slides forward, keeps its shape so that most child seats back here will be totally fine. I mean, look at that. One press of a button, and it just goes forward, leaving me plenty of room to climb into the third row. Shut the door, pull the seat back. Let's see how much room I have. I am 6'3", by the way, and I don't have much room or comfort back here at all. I do have plenty of foot room, but my knees are pushed all the way up against the second row captain's chair. Although I do barely have enough headroom. I mean, the third row seat is basically only for kids and small people, which I am not either of those. Most people under my size should be reasonably okay back here. To add to the comfort and practicality, you have a little bit of storage right here with a cup holder and a USB-C outlet mounted in this panel here. And I look up and I see air vents on the ceiling that will face directly at you if you want them to. So it's not too bad. It would be nice to have a center armrest or something back here, but honestly, that's just nitpicking at this point. And you can definitely find a bit of cheap plastic build quality back here. But if you're putting a little kid back here and he gets car sick a lot and he barfs all over this, it should be pretty easy to clean. So again, not that big of a deal. People in the third row probably won't notice, and you can forgive General Motors for that. Moving past that, let's hop into the second row to see what it's like back here. Now, I believe I can probably adjust the seat to move it forward or back a little bit. At the sacrifice of third row comfort, I'm able to move the seat forward and backward manually. And with this driver's seat in my driving position, again, I'm 6'3", and this second row seat moved all the way back. Third row people will hate me, but I don't care because I am very comfortable right here. I have just enough leg room, plenty of foot room to be able to stretch out a little bit, and just enough headroom. But people over 6'3" might struggle a bit back here, but most people aren't freakishly tall. So I've also got a little armrest right here that I can fold down, and rear climate for the second row passengers with heated rear seats. It's automatic single zone climate control back here. Again, heated seats on 3 different levels. Down below that, you have 2 USB-C outlets and a household style outlet next to it. So you can have your toaster back here and toast bread for all 7 passengers. Let's talk about interior quality, which on most General Motors cars is where it turns a bit negative. But back here, this wood trim feels like actual real, very nice wood. This doesn't feel super nice, but it's passable. I have this stitching below here on the door panel and stitching below the armrest on the door panel here that looks really good. It's contrast black stitching on, again, a white and brown door panel. And honestly, it's not easy to find cheap plastics here. You can find cheap plastics, but it's always in areas where you never touch. So finding cheap plastic on the back of the door here is just nitpicking and complaining. I have a little grab handle right here mounted to the B pillar, and a large panoramic sunroof with a cover that can be opened or closed electrically. So comfort back here is very good, better than I would expect. Interior quality and luxury and amenities back here is far better than I expected. Again, household style outlet, rear climate, heated seats, nice materials on the door panel, real looking wood trim, and this carpet as well. The carpet in this car is like the carpet in a brand new house that was just finished. It's absolutely amazing. It's not like that old style American car carpet where you'd want to take your shoes off. It's not quite that nice, but it makes me feel like I'm in a brand new house. I'm not explaining it very well, but this feels and looks like household carpeting for me, which is a bit weird to see in a car, but honestly, I absolutely love that. Once again, second row comfort and luxury is far better than I would have expected, and I'm very happy back here. So let's move up to the driver's seat. Okay, here we are in the driver's seat of the 2024 Acadia Denali, and this is where you really notice they pulled out all the stops to make this a proper luxury vehicle. Once again, this door panel material, real feeling wood trim, beautiful contrast stitching below it. These speaker covers right here in aluminum look absolutely beautiful. And I'm sitting once again on a white and brown seat with Denali stitched into the headrest right there, so you can remind yourself that you are a proper GMC Acadia owner, if such a thing exists. And you look around and you find more wood trim right here in the center console, with some nice cup holders behind it. Center console storage area right here with a divider that just pulls out and falls apart. And a large, deep storage area down there. This cover right here opens to reveal a wireless charger, which is what you would want. And below that, you have another massive, huge storage area down here, which is absolutely gargantuan. You can fit small bags in there. You can fit your grocery shopping in there if you want. It's a very large, very useful storage area that's sort of hidden down there. Moving up from that, you have an absolutely massive infotainment screen right here, which leads me into talking about infotainment, which in this car is absolutely fantastic. Right now, it's showing me the main menu screen where I have Google Maps on top. Yes, it's powered by Google Assistant thing. I have Google Maps on top. Below that, I have a couple of widgets that I believe you can swap out. I have audio on the left, Google Assistant on the right, but again, you can change it. If I want to see a full screen map, then I can touch the map part of the screen and it takes up all of it. So I have a massive, huge map. It's very fast, responds to your touch as fast as your own phone will, so it's a pleasure to use. But they also made sure to keep the climate controls and basic vehicle functions in the same area at the bottom of the screen. You have a traditional volume dial, which is what you want, and you have buttons down here to control the climate. You still have climate that's controlled by buttons, but if you want to skip the buttons, these little indicators on top of the buttons, part of the touch screen, can be operated by touch as well. So if you hate buttons, then you can have the touch controls, and if you hate touch controls, then you have the buttons. They thought of everything. Also, if I go to the home menu, I have Amazon Alexa, which is nice, and I have lots of different apps to control various different things. I'm not super good at talking about infotainment, as anybody who actually watches my videos should know, but just know that this infotainment is one of the best that I've ever had the pleasure of using. It's super fast, it's super well laid out, it's exactly what you want from an infotainment system. In the center also you have a digital gauge cluster, which can be changed around to show a full screen map, which is something that people want from their cars. But if you want to change it around, you can have your driver's assistance, you can have just a traditional tachometer and your speed. And like I said, once again, a huge, bright, full screen map can also be put on your screen at the same time. And at the bottom, it shows you the basic functions like your odometer readout, your fuel range, whether or not you're using all-wheel drive, the gear you're in, etc. Moving closer from that, I have a nice, beautiful leather-wrapped brown steering wheel with white contrast stitching that says Denali on the airbag cover so that you know that you've got the cool, nice version. It's heated, has shift paddles on the side, and it has a sensor right here for General Motors Super Cruise, which is their autopilot system that works a little bit different from Tesla's. They actually have roads mapped into this system, downloaded into this system. So as long as you're on one of these mapped roads, it does all of the driver's assistance for you. It can steer, brake, change lanes. It does everything. So not only do you have an amazing infotainment system, a nice high quality interior that has practicality elements everywhere you look to make things easier for you as a consumer and a driver. You also have a full screen map in the gauge cluster, and if you can't be bothered to drive it, it drives itself for you. They did an absolutely amazing, I know I've said this 1,000 times, and I've praised this car to the ends of the earth, but again, I wasn't expecting this thing to be even close to this good. I would have expected to get in this car and yeah, it's reasonably okay, I guess, but then it wouldn't be any replacement for actually a proper luxury SUV, but the Denali is now a proper luxury SUV. So with that being said, let's take it out on the road and see how it drives. Behind the wheel of the 2024 Acadia Denali. Now, I do have a couple complaints about this car that have to do with the driving experience, but they're not that big of a deal. First thing, and most annoying in my opinion, is this stupid shifter situation. So like Mercedes-Benz, it has an electronic column-mounted gear selector, but unlike Mercedes-Benz, I guess General Motors thinks its customers aren't smart enough to understand how an electronic column shifter works. So for drive and reverse gears, you have to first pull the electronic column switch towards you and then push it down. Instead of just what Mercedes-Benz does, again, where you just push it down all the way for drive, pull it up all the way for reverse. I guess Tesla has done the same thing before. No, in this car, park is a button, but if you want to put it into reverse, forward and up. If you want to put it into drive, forward and down. And if you just pull it forward, then it's neutral. Why? Why does it have to be a two-step process to put the car into gear? It's like, it's so clear that General Motors doesn't trust its customers. It thinks its customers are going to be like, huh, it's raining, let me turn the wipers on. Oops, reverse. And then they'll have a lawsuit to handle. And I think that's why they did that. They just wanted to make sure that it was completely idiot-proof. And if you've ever gotten into a car with a column-mounted electronic gear selector and accidentally put it in reverse when you turn the wipers on, that's not the manufacturer's fault, that's your fault because you're an idiot. So that's one complaint that I have. Again, not a big deal, you get used to it. I just think the principle of it is really stupid and annoying. Another complaint, there's too much engine noise in the cabin, in my opinion, for a car of this type. An Acadia Denali sits in a segment where not a single one of its buyers cares about cars or how the car sounds. So a car like this, I believe, should be as quiet as possible. There should be as little noise intrusion from the engine up front into the cabin as humanly possible. And when I'm driving around, I hear way too much four-cylinder noise, way too much in my opinion. Again, it's not annoying, it's not a big deal, but if I had to complain about something with the actual driving experience, I would say there's too much engine noise. But again, not that big of a deal. Speaking of the engine, it is a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. I believe the first generation Traverse and Acadia had a V6 that was notorious for exploding if you looked at it funny. This car just has a regular 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that has 326 horsepower, which is definitely a good amount, and it's able to tow up to 5,000 pounds, which isn't as much as something like the upper level Yukon Denali can do, but for most purposes, for a 3-row family crossover, you should be pretty okay with that. So let's put my foot down here. Yeah, there's some noise. I think I definitely over-exaggerate when I talk about engine noise. It's just not that nice of a sound. You hear a little bit more sound than you want, and it sounds like an unrefined 4-cylinder. The rest of this car, the luxury, the quality of the interior, everything about this car is writing checks that the engine doesn't cash, in my opinion. It's just, everything about this car has you fooled in thinking that it's a really nice, really upper level luxurious car. Everything about it, except for when you put your foot down, it sounds like a Honda. I'd expect it to be a little bit quieter because the rest of this car is just so well put together as a luxury SUV. It falls off a little when it comes to engine noise. But when it comes to ride comfort, oh yeah, this thing is comfy. Not a single time when I've driven this car have I gone over a bump where I thought, ow, that was kind of harsh. No, everything in the road is muffled out completely. It is a super, super comfortable car. I can't complain about the comfort, and I can't complain about wind noise and stuff into the cabin. When I'm just driving along, it's very quiet, and it's super comfortable. I mean, as an everyday car to transport your family, I struggle to think of a better value than the Acadia Denali. That's gonna do it for me, everybody. I think that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.